let's start with two blue bloods that continue to struggle, Rob, and now have put themselves in the equation where we're wondering whether or not they even get in the NCAA tournament.
Crazy.
And I don't know who you want to start with. You could pick Carolina, Kentucky.
No, let's start with Kentucky.
Okay. All right, we'll start with Kentucky, who it looked like it kind of, I don't know if found itself was the right word, but like they've been better over the last couple of weeks. They jump started by the Tennessee win in Knoxville. That was a huge one. And you thought maybe Calipari had started to figure it out, playing the two shooters, right? Playing CJ Frederick and Antonio Reeves together. He's got a lottery pick and then they lose at home to an Arkansas team that doesn't even have Nick Smith or Trevor Brazile. Like their two best, most talented players. So how worried are you about Kentucky making the tournament, number one? And number two, is it time? I know we talked about this before for Calipari and Kentucky to just say, hey, you know what? Maybe it's just best if we part ways. This thing has run its course.
Well, I still don't know about that. I think you're still looking at somebody who has proven himself at this level. Now, have they had problems? Yes, they have. And I think it's crazy that we talked so much about shooting, but now you look in conference play, they've got the third most efficient offense in the SEC.
Right.
And they're second in three-point field goal percentage. Now, they don't take a lot of them, but they are making threes when they shoot them. Defense has been the problem all of a sudden. Yeah. And the pick and roll in particular.
With Oscar. Yeah.
This guy was up for, wasn't he considered for National Defensive Player of the Year last year?
Who?
Oscar. Wasn't he in that conversation?
Because he rebounded.
I know he blocked shots, but still.
It's so wrong. But it's so wrong
I agree.
when people do that because they're looking at one stat and it's rebounds per game. Well, great. He gets rebounds. But if you're literally not trying to ever block a shot, you're going to have a better chance of getting the rebound.
That's true. No, I understand that. But it's shocking to me that now you see stuff from their beat writers and you see stuff about Kentucky and it's all about how, well, we can't guard the ball screen and it's all getting put on Oscar Tshiebwe.
Right.
They don't have great wins.
Yeah.
They have thrown him under the bus. This is the National Player of the Year from last year.
Yeah.
And I know
his ass off,
No. He didn't play well against Arkansas. What did he have? 7 points and 7 rebounds. I mean, that's a shocking effort from him because normally he's an automatic double-double. But it seems like Cal has pushed different buttons and inserted different people into the lineup, and it's just kind of been like plugging holes. For a while it was, well, we have no shooting, and then for a while it was something else, and now it's about Oscar Tshiebwe. How many quad one wins do they have? One?
I think it's one. I think they've got one, and Carolina's both.
Tennessee would be their quad one win?
Correct. That's it.
I mean, you look at Lunardi's stuff. He's got them in the last 4 in or the next 4. I mean, they're hovering close, and it's just shocking that it seems like every time they address one of their issues, something else springs up. I mean, they have problems, but I still do not think that it's as long as he wants to be there. I just think that they could still fix a lot of these issues. Now they're going to have to make some changes. We talked about the offensive coordinator type idea, but now they're shooting it well. They're shooting a good percentage in SEC play. It's a really weird situation. That's crazy.
Yeah, and again, we talked about how Severe Wheeler was kind of an issue, right, with them. And
when he went to the bench and
he didn't play last game.
No, I know, but I'm talking about they talked to him about coming off the bench, and that seemed to work for a couple games. And he was hurt against Arkansas.
Yeah, they're 1-7 in quad ones. They're 6-0 in quad twos, but they're 1-7 in quad ones. To me, here's the thing with Kentucky now is you look at their schedule and you say, all right, they got some easy ones coming up, Georgia and Mississippi State on the road. Are they easy? I mean, they can't lose either of those. They've got a problem.
I mean, Georgia away, both those games could be close. I mean, neither team is awful.
They have to beat Tennessee at home, to me.
Florida away that doesn't feel
right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, like
with the way Colin
Castleton carved them up. Left. With
the way Castleton carved them up last Saturday, that is a concern. Auburn at home will be a tough game. Arkansas away. I mean, it's not easy.
No, I think they have to go 5-2 in these last 7, including winning against Tennessee, to have a shot. You know, you can lose one of these 2 road games at Georgia and Mississippi State, and it won't crush you. Probably Mississippi State is the one you can afford to because their numbers are good. You can lose at Florida, it won't, or at Arkansas, won't crush you. But you better beat Tennessee at home to have any shot. I'm just still confused why they're this bad. I mean, again, when you look around the country, Rob, and you look at some of the teams that are on the bubble, some of the teams that are in, look at Arkansas, for instance. They've lost Nick Smith, and we'll talk about them, Nick, in a little bit here. But they've lost, again, their 2 most talented players, and they're not even on the bubble right now. They're in. They're in. After losing their 2 most talented players, they are clearly in the tournament if it ended today. Kentucky's been relatively healthy for most of the year, and they're not in. Like, what does this say about Calipari and his coaching?
Yeah, no, it's not good. I think it says that the sum of these parts is not greater than what they are individually. And Arkansas would be the opposite. No Nick Smith, no Trayvon Brazile. And they have found a way. This is certainly, you can throw it on the coaching. It doesn't make sense. It really does not make sense why you can have this many talented players and not win games.
What I'll say is the one semi-comparison I have between Kentucky and Carolina, and they've got different issues, is a big that is not a shot blocking. Again, I'm not going to call Bacot a liability defensively because I don't think he's a liability, but what he isn't is a guy that could go out there and switch ball screens, and he's not a shot blocker. Like, that's the difference that I think both of them are having a little bit of trouble. But I think Carolina's trouble. Also, I was there for the Duke game, Rob, and after the game, I literally told Hubert as I was walking off, I'm like, you know, your team, even in the press conference, I said, your team was so much fun to watch in March last year, right? They were fun to watch. They looked like they were having fun. They were playing with emotion, raw emotion, happy, chest bumping, looked like they were happy for one another. I see none of that now. Zero.
How did he take you saying that?
He didn't. He pushed back on it a little bit. He said, well, you know, some of it's about winning and losing, but I understand. Hubert's the nicest human being in the world. And again, listen, the one thing, and he'll say this to me, the one thing he admitted that I was right a year ago when I called them soft, and he played the clip before games to show his team how to motivate him, I guess, and say, hey, look at this asshole.
I bet all those players hate you.
Bacot doesn't. Caleb Love hates me.
Dang.
Bacot
came on the podcast, yeah.
I think a lot of them realized I was right. And you know, you wonder if Hubert is just Mr. Positivity. But I think deep down, he's got to understand there are some issues with his team because they should not be regressing, which is what they've done for the most part, or at least kind of been running in quicksand. And I'll give him, like, you know, again, you know, in the ACC, you shouldn't be, what are they, 7-6 right now in the ACC?
They are 7-6 in a league that just fell behind the Mountain West in terms of overall conference rating on KenPom. They're 7th now.
I mean, that's an embarrassment. But Rob, is it now fair to say that last year's March run was fluky? That wasn't the real Carolina.
They caught fire.
Right.
Caleb Love got on this crazy heater, and they just, you know, Manic was shooting the ball at a crazy high clip. I don't know. They haven't executed well end of games. All the way back to PKI. I saw them against Iowa State. They had like 5 turnovers in the last 4 minutes, and they lost.
Yep.
You know, Alabama, they led in some of those overtimes, and they lost.
Terrible offense.
The Pittsburgh game, you know, they were up with a minute to go, and they lost. The Duke game, tie game, 4 to play, and they lost. This last Wake game, it's a 7-point game, but it wasn't that close.
It was an embarrassment.
Down 26. I am concerned because whenever you read the quotes by the Carolina players, it's like, well, we just need to compete. Man, it's February. What do you mean you need to compete? We are in the middle of conference play, almost on the back, getting to the backside of conference play.
Yeah.
It is not the time to say, well, if we compete, we'll be good.
How are you not competing by now? Like
that discussion is had in October.
Like this was a huge game at Wake, a huge game at Wake,
and they sleptwalked through the first 30 minutes.
Right,
they really did. You hear the togetherness and the cohesiveness, and it just seems like that is not there. It really doesn't, and it's just
they're the ones I worry about. I worry more about them than I do Kentucky, to be honest. I think Kentucky's got enough talent. I think they end up getting in.
Well, the Carolina bench is almost non-existent.
Right.
I mean,
and Hubert said he wanted to play the bench this year. That was his big thing his last year.
But he really didn't in the non-conference. So if you don't play them then, how can you put them in at Wake Forest and say, all right, guys, like, go contribute when you didn't have them gain confidence and experience?
Yeah, I mean, listen, in the game against Duke, Puff Johnson was the only player who played more than 5 minutes off the bench.
Yeah.
That's it.
And he's been banged up, so he's not been consistently getting time.
I just feel like, again, you've lived and died too much with Caleb Love. You've given him too much.
But they lived at the highest level last year.
With that.
He took you to the national title. He beat Duke at Duke. He beats Duke in the Final Four. He had this incredible run. It's really interesting to look at when you think about how Caleb Love will be remembered. And I think it'll be more positive than negative, especially if they don't make the NCAA tournament. You would have two very different seasons, but he had an all-time run for Carolina. You go to the national championship game and the way he played and the shots he made, the shot he made in the Final Four, those are massive moments.
Massive.
Even in a place like North Carolina where they've had crazy massive moments. He is a fascinating player in college basketball. And you're probably right, but that they rode that last year and it took them all the way to the national title game.